dawnlit lands where Airyana awakes, a name through time the silence breaks. From Peshtadion's noble flame, a king rose high, Hushangh his name. He struck two stones and fire rose in the air. The warmth and light spread everywhere. With sacred sparks he shaped the art of cooking food and forging hearts. He carved the earth with metal's might, drew silver veins in soil's delight. He grew the crops the canals sang, and grain was born where plowshare rang. He yoked the beast with gentle hand to till the fields and serve the land. With laws he steered the mortal tide, a progressive king, a nation's guide. So crowned with firsts and most renown, he wore more than a royal crown. His wisdom lit civilization's way, and still it burns in memories today.
The Peshtadian dynasty was the first known dynasty of prehistoric ancient Airyana, or later called Iran, and a celebrated name of the illustrious king of this first Peshtadian dynasty was Shah Hushangh. In dawn-lit lands where Iran awakes, a name through time the silence breaks. From Peshtadian's noble flame, a king arose high, Hushangh his name. Discovery and creation of fire and maintaining the fire was first discovered by Hushangh. Rudimentary Mazdayasni religion was first started by Hushangh. From this fire, cooking of food and smelting of metal was carried out first by Hushangh. Using these metal implements, carving out canals and starting agriculture and growing grain was first started by Hushangh. Domestication of certain animals for carrying loads and pulling the plough was introduced first by Hushangh. The first laws of governance were made by Hushangh. So Hushangh had many firsts to his name, thus he was rated as a very illustrious king of the Peshtadian dynasty. The Peshtadian dynasty was a prehistoric dynasty founded around 10,000 BCE up to 7,500 BCE. Hushangh was the second king of the Peshtadian dynasty and the grandson of the first man and first king Kayomars or Gayamartan as per Avestan texts. In the Avesta he was called Hushangh, that is, he who produces good dwellings or promoter of culture and cemetery living, and is given the epithet Paradhata in Avesta text, meaning first lawgiver. This title, Paradhata of Hushangh, evolved into Peshtat and then to Persian Pishdad, and thus Hushangh's title became the name given to this dynasty, the Peshtadian dynasty. Ferdowsi's Shahnameh drew historical content from the traditional history books, Bastannameh and Khudanameh, written during the late Sasanian period of Shah Khusro Noshirwan-e-Adel's reign, on which the Shahnameh was based. The Shahnameh uses the phrase down from the time of Hushangh to mean from the first king who reformed civilization, and quotes Khusro Parviz. During the Sasanian times, he is quoting as calling the Iranian religion the creed of Hushangh. The Mazdayasni, the basic creed of Hushangh was Mazdayasni. So Hushangh is the son of Siamak and the grandson of Gayomard. He was the first to extract metal from rocky ore. He invented smithy, made axes, saws, plows and mattocks, Next, he established the knowledge of irrigation by making canals and ducts with these metal implements. This enabled men to sow, reap, and produce grain. He also had ox, ass, and sheep domesticated for the first time, paired and turned into good use for carrying loads, plowing the field, and farming. Discovery of fire. Hushangh, said to be the first to discover fire by friction of rocks, was also the first to recognize the divine glory of Mazda within the fire. And thus it was Hushangh who started Mazda worship, or rudimentary Mazda Yasni as we know it. Once on a cold day, Shah Hushangh and his party were returning from a hunting expedition. They saw a large dragon snake coiled in their path. Hushangh aimed his flint axe at it. He missed and the snake slithered away, but the axe hit another stone which was also a flint and produced a bright spark. The curious king took hold of the two flints and struck more sparks with his hands, and he learned to produce enough sparks to ignite a fire on the dry bush around the site. He discovered how to make fire. This spark, he proclaimed, is Mazda's gift. Hold it high in regard, he said. He thanked Mazda for the gift and declared fire on his altar as worship of Almighty Mazda. He held a great feast. Every person sang, danced, drank, and feasted around the bonfire. For the first time, Shah Hushangh and his people could light their dark caves and feel cozy and warm in their beds. They passed a wonderful winter. Hushangh never forgot his revolutionary discovery. He held a great feast every year on that eventful day. He introduced soft and comfortable furs as clothing. That incident sparked the idea of kindled fire by striking two pieces of flint together. This theory is confirmed by archaeologists to be the most probable means of fire's discovery in the early Stone Age. Take away the fire and the humans will revert back to wilderness like any other animal. The greatest discovery made by man alone on this good earth is the art of making and maintaining fire. The day Hushangh discovered this art of making and maintaining fire, he separated for good and human beings from the animal kingdom that roam the earth. He offered homage to the fire and instructed his people to do the same. Civilization came to the Aryan world during the age of Hushangh. Hushangh developed governance according to the rule of law, and as a result he was called Paradhata, the first lawgiver. Allied to the rule of law was the concept of common justice. During the age of Hushangh, the Aryans developed agriculture and furthered the domestication of animals, and two elements essential for the development of settled civilizational societies was discovered: fire and metal. Domestication of animals that had started with the herding of cattle during the age of Gaya Martana or Gayomars now developed to include animal husbandry and the domestication of horses, ass and sheep. The domesticated animals were used for plowing, as beasts of burden, for transportation, and for the making of dairy products. To support agriculture, the Aryans during the age of Hushangh dug irrigation canals and ducts with those metal implements, the rudimentary metal implements for carving earth into ducts and canals. They learned to bake bread as well due to the very important discovery of fire. Fire was the intermediary and the hearth became the altar. All the gifts presented to the deity and deities, animal fat and flesh, grains, food, sweet-smelling herbs and wood, were put to burn and rise in smoke to reach Mazda. Remembrance of the discovery of fire, that is Jashan-e-Sadeh, or the festival of the 100th day. The Hushangh age also saw the discovery of how to make fire. This discovery is celebrated annually by people of Iranian Persian descent as the Jashan-e-Sadeh, meaning the festival of the 100th day, that is the 100th day after October 21st, when the actual winter started in Airyana Vaja in those times, around the end of January as we know it now. The Ghambar feast that has now been kept alive through ages by the Iranians is held every year on 10th day of Bahman Mah, around 30th Jan, as per the firstly calendar of Iran. On that afternoon, Jashan-e-Sadeh, people of Iranian stock around the world still gather outside their town, make a hill of dry and bushes and weeds and branches. Priests lead the prayers, exalting fire as the divine light, warmth and energy. Ask Mazda for an ever-progressing life to eternal happiness, and as the sun sets in the blazing west, set the hill of wood ablaze. It is a sight to watch as huge leaping flames touch the sky. Those at the home light little bonfires on top of their flat mud-plastered fire-safe roofs, a tribute to the civilized blessings given by the discovery of kindling fire by Shah Hushangh. The discovery of fire also led to the extraction of metal from ore. According to legend, during this era, people acquired the skills of blacksmithing, crafting axes, saws and mattocks, a tool like a pickaxe, with one end of its blade flattened at right angles to its handle and used for loosening soil and cutting through roots. The age of Hushangh was therefore the start of the Metal Age in Aryan history. However, unlike other Metal Ages, which started with the processing of copper, Aryan and Saka legends placed the use of gold before the use of copper in Central Asia, possibly even 1,000 years earlier. In Central Asia, gold was the more readily available and accessible metal. The Shahnameh of Firdausi states that gold was used in ancient times to make surgical knives used to perform caesarean operations during the Kayanian dynasty. Rostam, the great mighty warrior, was said to be the first person born through caesarean, or shall we call it Rustamian. The age of Hushangh was also the start of the agricultural age and the age during which the Aryans began to establish an international trade network. In general, it was the start of the age of civilization. Fire has been mentioned 8 times in the Gathas of Zarathustra. It is conveyed as the inner divine mental fire in Yasna 31.3. It is considered as earnestly to be desired, possessing power, mentioned in Yasna 34.4. It is also mentioned as giving help to the faithful in Yasna 34.4. And it is mentioned as inner spiritual fire, mentioned in Yasna 43.9. This inner fire of Ahura Mazda in each human's heart is the fire of Ahura Mazda, as mentioned in Yasna 34.4. Thy fire shall bestow our true reward, says Yasna 47.6. Thou was the fire when life began, says Yasna 43.5. Thy fire shall shine brightly in my heart, says Yasna 43.4. The radiant light, mentioned in Yasna 4.19 and 16.9, is also mentioning the fire. The inner warmth is mentioned in Yasna 8.4 and full of radiating energy is mentioned in Yasna 7.4, which helps good and evil people to find happiness. It helps to meditate in quest of righteousness, says Yasna 8.9, and to enlighten one's mind to find means to ward off danger is the fire, says Yasna 11.7. So the Gathic fire symbolizes the inner divine progressive mind in human beings. It is the fire on the altar that enlightens within the meditating mind of a Zarathustri. Facing it, a Zarathustri wishes to forge a union with Almighty, Hamazor with Almighty, and thus create an ideal society based on love, Wahuman, justice and truth, Asha, inner strength, Kshatra, devotion, Almighty, gratitude, Husepas, the name of Almighty, and Stutam in the Gathas. Perfection, that is Hauravatat, and lastly achieve immortality and bliss, that is Ameritat.
In dull-lit lands where Airyana wakes, amain through time the silence breaks. From Peshtadia's noble flame, a king rose high, Hushangh his name. His Struck two stones and fire rose in the air. The warmth and light spread everywhere. With sacred sparks he shaped the art of cooking food and forging hearts. Veins and soil's delight. He grew the crops the canals sang, and grain was born where plowshare ran. He yoked the beasts with gentle hand to till the fields and serve the land. With laws he steered the mortal tide, a progressive king, a nation's guide. So crowned with firsts and most renown, he wore more than the royal crown. His wisdom lit civilization's way, and still it burned